This is Votan, and I'm back. Today, I would like to talk about a subject that may be contentious, definitely will be different than what I've talked about in the past, but it's sort of close to my heart. Um, I'm sure many people have different opinions, and this is sort of my own opinion of where I am at the moment. So, I have often wondered about God and what God is or who He is. And I often tried to imagine what He looked like, and it didn't have a lot of information to go on, but I think when I was little, I guess I sort of imagined God as sort of like a Santa Claus character. Not necessarily like that, but I was told that He is always there. He knows whatever you do. He knows when you've been doing something good. He knows when you've been doing something questionable. And that's sort of like what Santa Claus does. Santa Claus knows when you've been naughty and nice. So I sort of had this idea that God was always looking at me and sort of judging me. But as I grew and I sort of found more qualities that I thought I could ascribe to them, I started adding them on. So God is all loving, and God just wants the best for us. God doesn't want any bad stuff to happen to us. And then questions would come up like everyone asks, well, why does God let bad things happen to good people? Or why does God not come and help save this situation or save me or do something? Or why did we have to be here in the first place if God loves us so much? And so for many years I've been sort of, off and on wrestling with the idea, thinking about it, trying to pinpoint it. The friends that I have that are so-called atheists, who don't seem to believe in God or used to believe in it and now are doubting or whatever, didn't really seem to faze me. I'm a firm believer in God, and I've always have been. I just have been wrestling with the exact definition of what God is or who God is, to try to come up more with not really a visual picture, but just a better understanding to help me figure out what it all means. A lot of people start with the question, well, who am I? Why am I here? I've never been a huge proponent of asking myself these kinds of questions, because it usually leads to intellectual thinking and trying to figure out, or maybe even backtracking, maybe your earliest memories, or trying to think yourself out of the current state of mind, and maybe you will flip into some other altered state, or however it works. My approach has always been more feeling based rather than through logic or through the intellect. And I've always been more of a, does this feel right to me? But I haven't always been conscious of it. It's been more under the scene, sort of. I've always tried to fit into the mold of what you hear most people talk about, and it works for them. But it never really worked for me. So mine has always been trying to come to grips with what it means when I say I believe in God, or God speaks to me. You hear people say that often, or God made me do this, or I hear voices, and all these sort of things that are attributed to God, as well as the other qualities that I mentioned earlier. But I didn't really seem to make any headway, and it sort of was difficult for me to really come to a clear understanding of what God was. And truth be told, I'm still not quite clear. However, one very welcome side effect of doing the Course in Miracles very good book, very involved in holy text. I think of it as sort of a mind training for the spirit, for removing the ego, or dismantling it as much as possible. And one very great side effect is how it slowly redefines what God is, and it doesn't really do it blatantly, although I suppose you could pick it all out and say, well, yes, it is blatantly here, 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 here. But as I'm just going through the workbook, lesson by lesson, it's becoming clear to me that God is not exactly what I thought he was. And in fact, he's not he, obviously. And this is sort of a slow realization that I've come to over the years. But I still had the other image of what I thought God was, kind of like the Santa Claus. Not really, I didn't really think like that, but that's probably closer to what I thought God was. And now my thinking about what God is shifting more towards infinite love, compassion, the force of whatever it is beyond this universe, and that is probably indescribable and something that, as they say, one would have to experience if one would wish to be able to understand it. That's not something I have experienced, not yet. But like the last several lessons that I went through, says that God is light, God is mind, God is strength, God is love. And throughout the day I was just really thinking about that, and I sort of realized that all of these qualities that are actually the true nature of each one of us is sort of what makes us a part of God. And God is actually existing within ourselves, because deep down inside we have that connection to God. And in fact, we are still in God's mind. And if the Course in Miracles is correct, everything we see around us is an illusion, and we are just sort of dreaming what we are seeing, what we are experiencing, what we are perceiving. And all the thoughts and the turbulence and the turmoil and all the raucous illusions and all of that is covering up our true essential nature. And if we go down deep enough into our minds, past all of that stuff, we will be able to contact God, hear his voice, and have access to these qualities that God is comprised of. And this is closer to what now I believe that God is. God isn't some being sitting above the clouds somewhere, or not exactly looking like us as it says in the Bible, we were made in God's image. But perhaps it's more our essential nature, our deep down aspect of that part of us in our mind, that we were made in God's image. And the rest of the stuff is just illusory, is just spawned from impure thoughts or whatever it came from. And this stuff is all just a construction of our own minds. And so by contacting God, we will be able to know the truth. And I have full confidence that I will be able to do that someday. So my understanding is that this is what God is. God is our true, essential, deep down nature that connects all of us together and that exists beyond this time-space phenomena, and is what eternity is what infinity is. This is just what is the true reality, not what we see here. So it's not fully concretized exactly what God is until I actually experience God for myself. But I feel I'm coming closer to understanding exactly what God is, not exactly who, because he's not a person, but I'm finding that this course has that wonderful benefit of getting me to become clear with my own beliefs and what I feel to be true. It's not like I'm just reading it and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever it says I believe. But going through this, it really strikes a chord with me, and it feels like almost everything that I've been reading, it feels like I've sort of known it to be true deep down, but have either been too scared to admit it, or it's too outlandish, or it is just it was just pushed aside from my conscious mind. And so I do believe that it is true. So with this deeper understanding of God, I feel like I have a better chance of being able to be in contact with him and know what God's will is for me. So that's about all I have for this video. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.